Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Quranite.com, and today is Tuesday, 10th of November 2015, and today I would like to try to answer a question that someone who's kind enough to listen to my presentations has asked. And in essence, what he's asking is what I think Islam is. I will attempt, according to my own understanding, to put into some sort of perspective. One of my backgrounds is as a linguist, and as a linguist, when you study languages, you acquire a certain sensitivity to the mechanics of words and the mechanics of language. Now, when I first became alive to this particular question, not actually as regards the word Islam, but as regards the word Salat, because such almost a cultic fuss is made about the word Salat. As part of my analysis of the word Salat, which is you can find in the appendix section of my translation of the Quran, which you can download in its entirety for free using the button in the top right hand corner from the site, I began by in my study of the word Salat, and I'll come back to the word of Islam in a moment because there's a correlation. As I was investigating what the word Salat means, I came across one of the first instances of that word in Al-Baqarah, which says وَاسْتَعِنُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, and make use of sabr and salat. Now, what's interesting in this case is that you have one verb taking two objects. One object is sabr and the other object is salat. Now, it's an interesting feature of language that there are such things as abstract nouns, common nouns, and proper nouns. Now, it's very difficult to use, in fact I would suggest impossible, to use the same verb in a meaningful and natural way to take two objects if both those objects are of a different nature. So let's start with an abstract noun. And this is really my point, is we need to be clear what we're talking about. Are we talking about abstract nouns? Are we talking about proper nouns? Or are we talking about common nouns? So let's take an abstract noun. We all agree, well, at least in my experience, and I have heard some pretty incredible assertions coming from traditionalist Muslims, but to date, anyway, nobody has yet claimed that they do not know how to have patience because they haven't had it explained to them from some other source. If I say to you, have patience, or he has patience, be patient, we all know what this means. Patience is an abstract noun. However, a Big Mac is not an abstract noun. It's a concrete noun. It's not possible, really, to connect patience and a Big Mac using one verb. You can't eat patience. You can eat a Big Mac, but you can't eat patience. Whereas a Big Mac and fries, you could use one verb for those two because they're of the same type. Whereas patience and hope, or patience and love, can serve as the objects of the same verb. Why? Because they are of the same linguistic stuff. Now, to go back to the word Islam, the assumption is, a little bit in the question, is that this thing, Islam, is a proper noun. It's an actual thing, like Mount Everest or Fido the dog. It's something with a name that has set characteristics. And the question rather presupposes that I might know, or at least I should guess, at what those characteristics may or may not be. But my answer is that the noun is of a different type. It's an abstract noun. It simply means submission, and that's all it means. So, if I say, have patience. Now, for one man to have patience, it may be that he will grit his teeth and clench his fists and tense his muscles and bear with fortitude whatever it is he is experiencing. Because in the circumstances, that is what having patience is for him. That's his way of having patience. But that's a very different thing to saying that that's what patience is. Now, for another person, having patience, he may be he may be running a marathon. So for him, if he were to do the same thing in those circumstances, he wouldn't be having patience. He would be having a seizure. For me, in my understanding, the word Islam simply means submission to God. Now, to me, the Quran is a roadmap. It's giving us the rules of the road. So obedience to the rules of the road will be different for you than they are for me. They're the same rules, they're the same road, but we're on different parts of the road. What traditionalist Islam would have it is that Islam is always turning left. Turning right, haram, always turn left. No. Obey the rules of the road to get to where you're going. That is Islam. So I'm not able to answer the question in terms of a proper noun, because I don't believe it is a proper noun. In the Quran, in Al-Baqarah, God says to Ibrahim, submit. And he says, I have submitted to the Lord of the worlds. That's it. Now, if I'm your boss and you do what I tell you to do, you have submitted to me. Or if you're my boss and I do what you tell me to do, I have submitted to you. It's a general statement of I will do what you tell me to do. That's Islam. Because that's what submission means. It is trying to make it into a very specific job description for every single circumstance. In my opinion, is to confuse the type. It is to make an abstract noun a concrete noun. It is to turn it from something that it is, an abstract noun, into something that it is not, a concrete noun. And in that process of transmutation, therein lies all the power of the priesthood. And boy, will they milk it. But it's simply an abstract noun. Now, a second question, perhaps a different question, but perhaps in some way implicit in the question is, what do I think it is God wants us to do? Well, I think we have that in the Quran, but if you're asking for my summary of it, I think it is to believe in God in the last day and to do good works. I believe that we are called upon to purify ourselves, to treat what happens to us in our lives as grist to the mill of this process of purification which God puts us through. And I think very importantly, certainly for me, I believe that we are called upon to learn and to teach. We are to be witnesses. The Prophet was to be a witness to us, and we are to be a witness to the people. And if we're not doing that, I think we are failing in some part of our duty. That's it in summary. That's how I see it. I don't believe that God is interested, myself, in factionalism. I don't believe it. And when I look at the stars, when I look at the sun, when I look at a newborn baby, when I look at a flower, and then I look at any organized religion, I don't see any correlation between the two. I think God is amazing. And I think that organized religion, which crushes the initiative out of people, is anathema to that. I believe that God gives us the power of initiative, the power of creativity, the power of personal responsibility. And just as he doesn't tell us how to have patience, because he credits us with the ability to work it out, I think that the same holds true for our Islam. So that's it. I haven't got anything more of any real value to add to it at this point. That's my answer. I hope it's of some use to you. That's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Quran for free using the button in the top right-hand corner. Incidentally, the notes and the appendix section contains most of what I talk about on this channel. I also encourage you to sign up for the Coronite Plus newsletter on the site to get occasional micro updates. Like if you like, comment if you have something to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you want to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short, eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.